last week, if y'all weren't here or just forgot, we talked about how our heart is deceitful and how we should not follow our heart, but then instead follow Jesus, and what it means to follow Jesus, and a little bit about that. So I'm super excited. You see my neck break out red? I'm not nervous at all, man. I'm just excited. So don't make fun of me. How about that? No, actually do make fun of me. See what happens. All right. So if you have your Bibles or your phones, turn.
That's why we're laughing.
Turn to Mark 5. We're in Mark 5, verses 21 through 43. Mark 5, 21 through 43. Also, if you don't take notes, if you're not taking notes, I don't think I see anyone. If you don't have a notebook, I would encourage you to whip out your phone notes and just kind of cycle between the Bible app and your notes on your phone. Taking notes is a really good thing to do. So, this past spring break, I had the privilege to go to Costa Rica. It was super fun. We did a lot of cool things. We did complain a lot also because it was really hot, but we did a lot of cool things. And one of those things, we went on this excursion like in the jungle. We were hiking up, and we were seeing like nature. There was like spiders, obviously trees. But there's like this thing where we went on these sky bridges, and we started off low, like it's these little skinny bridges. We started off at like a low one, and it kept getting higher. Well, I was pretty excited at first until I saw like the high bridge. Then I kind of got sketched out, and then so we're climbing up, and we get to this tall, like rickety bridge, and it's super skinny. And so the instructor's in front of us. There's a bunch of people up there. The instructor in front of us is like, okay, so go like 1 foot in front of the other. Like just take it slow, wait till everyone's gone. So I'm doing that, man. I like to follow the rules, especially when I might die. So like I'm just like chilling up here, like taking pictures, got my phone. I almost dropped my phone. I'm like freaking out. Well, some people behind me, some dude just starts like stomping down the bridge like this, and I was like, that's not 1 foot at a time. And I'm just like shaking. And we had my little brother with us. He's 9. Yeah, he's a little bit like me. He's afraid of stuff. I hate like roller coasters. I hate heights. I hate anything like that. So he was with us. He was behind. You could just see him gripping, like white knuckle, and he was like crying, screaming, and I was like, psh, loser. And then I looked down, and I was like, oh boy. Like, I was scared too. I was taking video, and then I remember the same dude kept stomping, and I almost dropped my phone. And so there was moments where I did not trust that bridge, right? Never experienced those kind of bridges before. I was in a new place, in a new land. Did not trust it, man. It took a lot, and my little brother certainly did not trust it, but we're alive, so that's good. So we're going to be talking about trust, and I titled it Trust Issues, Trusting God When All Seems Lost. So if you're taking notes, we're going to start off with Mark 5, 21 through 43, but first, the definition of trust is firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. So that's the definition of trust. And we trust every day, whether it be people, whether it be things. Like you're trusting these chairs, that they're not going to collapse. And what?
Can you repeat the definition for me?
All right, okay. Firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. So that's the definition. Sorry if I'm talking fast. You can stop me, just like interrupting me there, but that's fine. So yeah, we trust every day, whether it be people we know, things. When I get in my car every day, I trust that it's not going to just explode and I'm going to die. And that's for many reasons, but the main one is that it's been tried. Like I drive in that car every day. Like I've built trust with that car. Like it's a trusty little car. So I know when I get in it, it's not going to just randomly explode. I mean, it could, but like I have trust that like it's just not going to explode. So we're going to be in, like I said, Mark 5, 21 through 43. Quite a bit of verses here, but it's one of my favorite stories. It's kind of 2 stories that happen at the same time and kind of intertwine with each other. But all right, let's read. And when Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered about him, and he was beside the sea. Then came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and seeing him, he fell at his feet and implored him earnestly, saying, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, so that she may be made well and live." And he went with him. And a great crowd followed him and thronged about him. And there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and who had suffered much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard the reports about Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd, and touched his garment. For she said, "If I touch even his garments, I will be made well." And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my garments?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, and fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, there came from the ruler's house some who said, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they had said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." He allowed no one to follow him except Peter and James, and John, the brother of James. He came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and Jesus saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. And when they had entered, he said to them, "Why are you making a commotion and weeping? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. But he put them all aside, and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him, and went in where the child was. Taking her by the hand, he said to her, "Talitha kumai," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." And immediately the girl got up and began walking, for she was 12 years of age. And they were immediately overcome with amazement. And he strictly charged them no one should know of this, and told them to give her something to eat. So it's pretty lengthy, but I couldn't find it in myself to cut any of it, because I think it's just a great story and one of my favorite kind of two stories that go together. So you have this woman who's got this issue of blood. It doesn't specifically tell us, but most people think it's internal bleeding, stuff like that, from like a disease or a tumor or something like that. She's had it for 12 years. She's been to the doctors. She's spent all her money, and she has ended up worse than she was before. Then you have Jairus, this leader of the synagogue, coming to Jesus and asking for him to heal his daughter. So, like I said last week, we talked about not following your heart and following Jesus, and all that good stuff. But call it trust issues, because I feel like today a lot of people have trust issues. A lot of people have trouble trusting, whether it be they trust people too easily, and then they end up hurt by people, and it just ruins it, and they don't want to trust anyone else. And that can even affect how we view God and how we trust God and our relationship with God. So I actually have 3 points. So that's why it's good to take notes. I have 3 points, and I put 3 out of many, because there's many reasons, but I summed it up in 3. 3 reasons we can trust God. So the first one being, He is God. Boom. Like it's probably one of the biggest ones, and it sounds simple and it sounds kind of dumb for me to say. Just like, why should we trust God? Oh, He's God, Oh. But I don't think we actually grasp it and we actually understand that all the time. I mean, do you believe God is who He says He is as you're going through your life? When the tough times come, do you believe God is who He says He is? Do you believe God to be God, creator of the universe, who made you? Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God, for I will be exalted in the nations and on the earth." So sometimes we just need to be still, and we get so busy in our lives just going through stuff, especially in hard times. We're like, "Oh man, my world is crashing down. I don't know what to do," and we just get frantic and try to do whatever we can. But when's the last time you've actually just were still and just realized who God was and and amazed by who God is, and really trusted him and realized that, hey, I know this sucks, but God is who he says he is. He created me, he cares about me. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be okay. We see two great statements of faith in this passage for Jairus and the woman with the blood issue. And it's kind of crazy, and I think we can really learn from that. So, first you see Jairus, this leader of the synagogue. He's got a high place of authority among the people. And so, for him to come out to Jesus like he did is just crazy. It's taking all of he's denying himself at this moment. Like we talked about last week. Deny yourself to follow me. Realize that you're not in control of your life, that Jesus is Lord. So, Jesus is around this crowd after he just came over from the other side of the Sea of Galilee. And it says, then came, in verse 22, then came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and seeing him, he fell at his feet. He fell at his feet. People would see him and know who he was. Jairus, leader of the synagogue, where people would go and worship. He's a leader, and for him to come out and just fall at Jesus' feet, that's weird. People were probably just walking, Jesus is in there, they're trying to look, and then you just see this dude just fall on his face in front of Jesus, and they're like, what the heck are you doing? Get up, your authority, but he realized who Jesus was. There was no doubt in his mind. He had extreme faith, and he fell at his feet and implored him earnestly, saying, my little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, so that she be made well and live. It's in verse 23. So he had no doubt in his mind who Jesus was and that he could help his daughter. He said, come and lay your hands so that she may be made well. And then you see the woman do the same thing. She's done whatever she physically could. She spent all her money, saw all the physicians. But when she had heard the reports about Jesus, just heard the reports, she didn't know if it was true or not. She didn't know what was up, but she came up in the crowd and touched his garment. And she said, if I can even just touch his clothes, if I could just, touch his shirt, I will be healed. And that's extreme faith right there. Realizing who Jesus is, and just going after him, just even if you could, if she could just touch him, just get a touch of him, she believed that she would be made well, and she was. Jesus, the power went out of him, and he felt it, and he's like, who touched me? And then all the disciples went, what are you talking about? You're in a big crowd, everyone's, they're probably shoulder, everyone's bumping into each other. How are you going to say who touched me? It could be anyone. But he realized, he knew who touched him. He's not dumb, he's God, so he knew who touched him. It was the fact that he turned around and was like, hey, who touched me? Because she was kind of shy, but she realized what had happened and just fell down and told him about everything. Says she came in fear and trembling and fell down before him. And so, verse 34, he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. So we see these incredible acts of faith by these random people with problems. It's solved right there. We don't have that response. When we're going through tough times, when it seems like, everything is just crashing down and all seems lost. Our first reaction is not to, be still and realize who God is and go to him first. I feel like we can all attest to that it's probably not our first instinct. And that's okay, because it's not okay, but it's who we are. We've got this flesh and we're not perfect. We just need to be still and realize he is God. He is who he says he is. He will come through. We love to say that we love God, but we don't love him enough to trust him. We're like, oh yeah, I love God, but these rough times, I just got to do what I got to do. I'll take care of it. It doesn't work out like that. So my little brother, his hair gets really long really quick, and it looks gross. But and I just don't like the way he gets his hair cut. But so every time he needs a haircut, I'm like, yo, bro, let me cut your hair. He's like, no. And I'm like, okay, let Haley cut your hair. He's like, no. And I was like, yeah, she's lame. Let me cut your hair. But he just won't let me cut his hair. I'm like, he loves me, I know that. He just doesn't trust me to cut his hair. So I'm kind of offended, but I understand because I'm not in the haircutting business. You know, I've never cut his hair before. So he doesn't want to be looking dumb, you know? Like, I let my sister cut my hair one time.
It was good.
It was not. But I understand because I'm not in the haircutting business. I've never had experience like that. So I know my little brother loves me, but for him, he just doesn't trust me with his hair. So I'm not in the haircutting business, so it's understandable. But God's in the business of coming through. God is in the business of coming through. He does stay faithful, and he says he'll never forsake us, but we just don't buy into that. But he is in the come through business. And it leads into the next point. So that was the first point. He is God. I just need to be still to realize that he is God. He is who he says he is, and he will be there. Second, he is all-knowing. He is all-knowing. And under these, I have like 3 little sub-points because this is just, there's so much stuff I wanted to put into this. So yeah, he is all-knowing. So the first little sub-point is he knows us. He knows us. So, you know, he created the universe, everything we know and we love today. He created, and that's awesome, but he created us. You know, it talks about in the Psalms that he knitted us in our mother's womb. You know, we've heard that most likely. And it's true when we realize that, you know, he made us and he knows us. Matthew 10:30 says, every hair on your head is numbered. Like, that's crazy. How many of you have just sat and counted your hairs? Put your hands down, y'all are crazy. If you have, that's just weird. There's a lot better things to do. But that's just like, you think about, you know, how many hairs you have on your head, that's a lot. But he's got a number for that. That's just saying he knows every little thing about us. He knows us. It also talks about he has numbered every star in the universe and he has names for all of them. It's a lot of creativity, man. Like, could you come up with that many names? I don't think I could, but he's numbered all the stars. But, you know, he knows us. He knows us, right? So if you're, okay, so I used to love Legos when I was a kid. Who am I kidding? I still love Legos. I've got some pretty traumatic stories from that. I won't get into that, but I love Legos, man. But one of the key components of building Legos is the instructions. And a lot of times I would get mad because they're not very good instructions, but those are important, and those come from the creators, so you know how to build the Legos. If it didn't come with instructions, it has a picture on the box. Sometimes we can see the whole picture, but you know, it'll be pretty hard to try to build Legos. So, you know, when we are going through stuff and we don't know what to do and we don't know what to follow, how come we turn to all this alternative stuff, but we don't turn to the one who made us and knows us best? Yeah, right there. No, but for real, like, he knows us better than anyone else, any human possibly could, and he's given us the way to life. He said he would be there for us, and he provides for us. So why not go to the one who created us and created the universe and knows us best? So that's the first subpoint. He knows us. So the second one is his timing is perfect, and this one's kind of a tough one to talk about, but his timing is perfect. 2 Peter 3:8-9, you don't have to turn there, but it pretty much says 1,000 days or 1,000 years or something like that is like a day to him. A day is like 1,000 years. Just showing like his timing is a lot different because, you know, he's God. And so we get so caught up in our lives, in our time, and we think, you know, oh, if God could have just showed up right then, it would have been perfect, right? Oh man, you know, God, you're a little late on this one. Like, where are you at? But his timing is perfect. I saw a joke. I don't know if I saw it on the internet or Pastor Phil said it or both, but pretty much said, this guy was talking to God, and he was like, God, how long is 1,000,000 years for you? And God said, like a second. And then the guy said, how much is $1,000,000 to you? And God said, like a penny. So the guy was like, God, can I have a penny? And God was like, yeah, in a second. So that's 1,000,000 years. Sorry, my delivery's not that good. I'm not a comedian. Never wanted to be a comedian. But yeah, his timing is perfect. We see in the verses, as we read, go back to verse 35. It says, while he was still speaking, there came from the ruler's house some who said, your daughter is dead. Like, dude, it's done for. Talking about Jairus. Your daughter's dead. Why trouble the teacher any further? Like, why bother Jesus? He's got far more important things to do. Your daughter's dead. Just forget about it. But overhearing what they had said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, Jairus, the father, said, do not fear, only believe. Do not fear, only believe. Your daughter's dead. Don't worry. Trust me. Trust me. I got this. I got it taken care of. His timing is perfect. We think it's too late sometimes. We think, God's on our time, and like, man, you should have been here earlier. I'm sure Jairus would have not complained if Jesus would have showed up earlier before his daughter had died. But we think God's too late sometimes, but His timing is perfect. He says, don't fear, don't worry about what these people are saying. I know your daughter's dead, but trust me. Only believe. And then we see that again later on, verse 39 to 40. And when he had entered, he said to them, why are you making a commotion and weeping? The child isn't dead, but sleeping. And they laughed at him. Oh man, they laughed at him. How many times can we sometimes be like that? He's like, they're all crying. Obviously, like, the daughter's dead. They're grieving. It's like, what are y'all doing? Like, get up. She's not dead. She's sleeping. Like, they knew, and it was not literal. She was dead. She wasn't just sleeping, but it's the antithesis. Jesus knew that He was gonna raise her from the dead, obviously. So, He's like, what are y'all doing? Stop crying. She's not dead. She's just sleeping. And they laughed at him. They went from crying to laughing. That's a quick switch. But they went from crying to laughing at him. Sometimes we think God doesn't know what He's talking about. God might be telling us one thing, and it's not how we like it, which is a lot of times. Things don't go necessarily our way. But we think God doesn't know what He's talking about, and that goes back to point number one: He is God. We don't realize He is God, and He knows His timing is perfect. And sometimes we just like, God, what are you doing? But He knows. So His timing is perfect. That was the second subpoint. The third subpoint is His ways are better than ours. That kind of goes with the second one. So the third one, His ways are better than ours. How many of you can point to a time in your life when something's going on in your head, like there's this perfect way to get out of it, or this perfect solution, and you just want God to play by your rules, if you will, and then it doesn't go that way? How many times have you experienced that, where things don't go your way, God works a little different than you do? Yeah, it happens. It happens, and for a good reason, because God's ways are better than our ways. It goes back with subpoint number one. He knows us. So we might, think of a situation or a solution to a situation in our heads and think, this would be the best. God, if you could just do this for me, that'd be sick. But God doesn't really work like that. His ways are better than our ways. We go back to the text. They were hoping that Jesus would show up before the daughter had died when she was just sick, because think about that logically, that makes sense, right? You want to heal a sickness before the person actually dies, and they're like, you see, they were like, she's already dead, don't bother the teacher anymore, she's already dead, it's too late, but but then you see later she is healed, and it works out. I know a lot of times in my life, I've been going through something and it's super tough, and I was like, man, if this could just happen, that'd be great, it'd be awesome, everything would be good, I'd be happy. And it doesn't go that way. Like, God, what are you doing, man? You're supposed to do what I say, right? But then it works out in the end. It works out in the end. So his ways, just knowing his ways are better than our ways. That was the third sub point. And so that's out of the second main point. He's all knowing. And then it moves on to the final third point, which is he loves us. We hear that all the time. He loves us. But we see that all through the Bible, obviously. We see it at creation. God created the universe and everything in it, and he called it good. The Hebrew tov, which means good. He made everything, and after he made each thing, he said it was tov, or good. Then when he made man, it was tov meod, which means very good. So from the beginning, from creation, we were kind of set apart. And then you have the flood, Noah's Ark, that awesome story. It legit happened. And so the world was so evil, the world was so twisted at this point that it was like, man, I'm just going to wipe you all out with a big wave. So he did, because he's God and he can. But he, set aside Noah and his 3 sons and their wives, and then Noah's wife, and he got on the ark and, restarted from scratch. But then God promised to never flood the earth. And the sign of the promise was the rainbow. And so that's another proof that he loves us, that he's never going to flood the earth again. Then ultimately, we see the ultimate act of love at the cross. And, God came down as man, virgin birth, through Jesus. Jesus was half man, or fully man, fully God. At the same time, lived a sinless life so that he could be a perfect sacrifice and be crucified, rise 3 days later, so that we may have salvation in him and a relationship with him. If that isn't the greatest proof to you that God loves you and that you can trust him, then I don't know what else to tell you. That's pretty much that is our faith right there. That is our faith, that God so loved the world that he came and he gave his only begotten Son, so that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. That's the foundation. That's what Christianity is. Christianity, after Christ coming and dying for us because he loved us. Because he loved us. That's crazy. How many times do we actually think about that and think about it personally, and we don't just listen to it in church, that Jesus died for us? Oh, whatever, yeah, that's cool, thank you. Don't get to go to hell. It's pretty sick. But we actually take it in that he knew us. It goes back to God knowing us. He knew us before we were even born. So Jesus is thinking about this as he's fixing to be crucified. He was like, oh man, if God let this cup pass from me, ultimately your will be done. So, Jesus up there, he's sweating blood. And he didn't have to die for us, but he did. He did, because he loves us so much. We need to really take that personally. He had us in mind, what we would do, how we would betray him, how many times we would sin against him, past, present, and future. No one of us has lived a sinless life, so we've sinned against God, we've betrayed God. Jesus had that in mind when he's going to be crucified, and he went through with it. He bared the sin of the world on his shoulders on that cross and died for us because he loves us. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's pretty crazy love right there. Pretty crazy love. And he offers it the gift of salvation for free also. Jesus paid it all, and you just have to come to him, believe in him, have faith in him, and trust in him. That's crazy stuff right there. It's just, oh man. As I really think about it, really think about it, I get emotional sometimes because like I said, we don't really ever think of it personally. Like in our lives, we hear Jesus died for you, Jesus loves you, just as a broad thing, just for everyone, but it was personal. He knows you. He wanted to do it for you individually, not just for all of humankind. It was Jesus was I got to get crucified, offer salvation for all these people, but that one chick, Haley, she's in there. I don't know if I really want to die for her. No, he died for every single one of us personally, because he loves us so much, and it's the ultimate act of love. We can never repay that. There's nothing we can do to earn that, but it's because he loves us. A lot of times, you'll hear in debates, especially a lot of people who are atheists and don't believe in God. The popular question that comes up is, if God's so loving, how could he allow bad things to happen? And it sounds like that's a reasonable question. Some people, if you don't know how to answer it, I don't blame you, because it's tough, because God is a loving God. But why would he allow bad things to happen? The answer also to that is because he loves us. And that kind of sounds dumb. It kind of sounds it doesn't make any sense. But just think logically for a second. If there's no evil in this world, if there's no bad in this world, everything was just happy, Disneyland. Never been to Disneyland. I don't know how happy it actually is, but if everything was just good, nothing bad ever happened to us, there's no bad in the world, would we love God? Think about it. Would we love God? I don't think we would. I think we just forget about him. The world's great, because that's just how the world is. Nothing bad happens. God who? And that wouldn't be him loving us as much either. Bad things happen sometimes so that we can grow from it. We can turn back to him. We see this all the time with the children of Israel in the Old Testament. They would go in and out of slavery and bad stuff would happen, and then they would turn back to God, and then it would go good, and then they would kind of worship other gods, and they wouldn't worship God, and then they'd go back through hardships. But God loves us. That's why sometimes we have to go through tough stuff. I wrote down, you gotta think, without the lows, there's no highs. So just be like this. Sometimes you need to hit that rock bottom. Sometimes you need to go through low moments and really realize, okay, I need God. I need God. Because when life is coasting, dude, especially for me, when life is going good, I'm just coasting through life and everything's working out, man, I really don't think about God that much. And that, I'm just being honest with you. Man, life is good. I still, love God. I'm just coasting, and nothing's bad happening to me. So I'm okay, I'm fine. Without the lows, there are no highs. I don't know about you, but I'm really, really grateful for my lows in my life. I'm really grateful for my lows in my life. When they were going on, obviously I didn't have that mindset, because I was man, this sucks. Life sucks. Everything sucks. And there's a couple of big ones in my life. But looking back, retrospect, really changed my life. And when I turned to God, really got my life right with God. Now I see that really molded me and shaped me to who I am today. And God called me to ministry and all this stuff. All this stuff happened. It's awesome. And I'm not saying when you turn to God, life is going to be just easy coasting. It's not. It's going to be tough. But you have him there with you to go through things with you. You have him and you can trust in him. He's never going to leave you or forsake you. So that's a big reason why we should trust God. It's because he loves us and he just wants to have that relationship with us, for us to love him back. And he died on the cross for us individually. So the 3 reasons out of many reasons why we can and we should trust God when we're going through these hard times. It's because He's God, He's all-knowing, and He loves us. So, man, next time you're going through hard times, just remember you can trust God. He's not gonna abandon or piggyback on cross fingers on promises like people do sometimes. He's not a person, He is God. How many of you, oh man, I'm kind of getting into rough territory. How many of you have had a boyfriend or girlfriend, or just like, oh man, I'm so in love with this guy, I'm so in love with this girl, I trust them with all my life? How many?
Never had a girlfriend.
Okay, Tyler. I'm sorry. But you will. But no.
Okay.
But yeah, we especially me, man, tend to trust people so easily. Just like let them have all our trust in our lives, and you're like, oh, Brayden, I trust my boyfriend so much. I trust my girlfriend so much. We trust each other so much. We have each other's passwords to all social media. Like, I check her phone every day. That's weird if you do that. If you check your girlfriend or boyfriend's phone all the time, like have their passwords and stuff, that's just creepy, man. I was never like that. I never wanted that to happen. Not because I have anything to hide, but that's just weird. It's weird. But God's not like that. God doesn't go back on His promises. God is faithful when we're faithless. So we can't trust Him. So just encourage you to remember that and to really seek Him and trust Him in the highs and lows. And just glorify Him with your life. Let's pray. God, thank you for tonight. Thank you for all these students we have here. I thank you for this opportunity you've given me to speak from your word. I pray that I communicated it well and that the students received it well and would really take it in and apply it to their lives and learn something from it. I pray that as we continue tonight in fellowship and have ice cream and hang out, that you would be with them. I pray that as they continue to go about their lives, that you would move in their life and that you would use them in mighty ways, and they would glorify you with their lives and trust you in the highs and the lows. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name.